Noise department.
Reno is still there. It's still fun. I love the biggest little city. Mm-hmm. It really is a fun spot. And I'm sorry for everybody here in Vegas, but our circus is better. That's just my personal opinion.
I agree. I lived in Reno when I was a kid before we lived here.
Oh, so we have the better circus?
Yes, that was my very first circus.
All cities should be measured in terms of how great their circus is.
I think so, yeah.
This is Thirst Trap, a beverage industry podcast. And I'm your host, Tracy Bradley.
What is up, you guys? We are back, and I'm very excited. We have Joe O'Sullivan today. He is the master distiller at Minden Mills Distillery.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you very much, Tracy.
Thanks for coming. I mean, this is a huge thrill, and I don't believe that we've had a master distiller on before.
Oh, it's usually just the person who's been doing it long enough to fool everybody is how I explain my job.
So it's all smoke and mirrors.
Pretty much everything. That's kind of a good adult standard. It's all
like
smoke and mirrors.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me. I'm glad to be here talking about what I do.
I'm happy to hear it because this is exciting. So, Minden's in northern Nevada?
It is. It's just outside of Lake Tahoe. So you want to think about where South Lake is and then go maybe half an hour east. You're going to drop down out of the mountains into the Carson Valley, and that's where the distillery is, as well as where we grow everything.
Nice. Okay. I love that. So definitely. So I know a little bit about like a farm to table type situation. Previous brand I represented, they did a regenerative grain mark on their on their bourbon.
Yeah, and we're a little different than that because we're an estate distillery, and an estate is one of those things that can be vague unless you really define it. And as distillers, most of us have biology and chemistry training. We don't want anything to be ill-defined. That just wouldn't be right by us. So right. With estate distilling, there's kind of two approaches to it. One is the Estate Whiskey Alliance, which remembers that's a certified committee of the University of Kentucky in Lexington, where they will come and basically audit you and make sure that you are growing all of your own materials. Not just that, you are bottling your own. You're also just milling and you're fermenting and you're distilling all of these grains that come from land you control. Now, there's another approach to it as well, which predates the Estate Whiskey Alliance, which is what we did in the state of Nevada, where there's two distilling licenses, one a craft distilling license that limits the amount of sales you can have, but there's an incentive to be an estate distiller. And to be an estate distiller, 85% of the grains that you ferment and distill has to be on land that you control within the state of Nevada itself. Oh. So you can imagine that there's huge swaths of this desert state that's not great for. Mm-hmm. And so there's only a couple of areas where you get these really interesting nuances to how the grain presents itself out of the ground in those local environments. And us, Minden Mill, as well as the folks at Frey Ranch, Colby and Ashley Frey, we wrote these laws together. So this is an actual legal distilling license. And if we don't grow our own grain, and if we do break these laws, we'll get shut down. So we're holding ourselves accountable because the idea is that we want to offer something that's truly unique. And if distilling is going to evolve, and it always will, and continue to push new frontiers, I mean, now that we have American Single Malt ratified, we might as well push for this whole idea of what it's like to grow your own grain and what the effect of that grain is on the whiskey itself, and then approach it with some scientific analysis through the University of Kentucky. And that's essentially what we're starting. We're part of this another wave of movement within the whiskey and distilling world.
I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun because you have to really view the distilling history of distilling and whiskey making as one that is pre and post prohibition, obviously. And there's a real commodity grain that entered into that, where a lot of people are getting corn from Indiana and rye from Canada. And if you're getting the raw materials from all the same places, you're going to make similar tasting things.
Yeah.
With ours, just being able to grow your own rye, to grow your own corn, you can grow varietals of corn that you wouldn't ever be able to find on the commodity market. With us, it's an earth tones corn. So this is like a really colorful gem corn that has lots of green and blue, but also orange and red. And all of that together gives it a almost cola, spicy, cherry cola flavor, which is how I often explain it to people.
Oh.
And you were able to try some of this not that long ago.
I did. The brewery that I represent in the state of Nevada, Las Vegas Brewing Company, did a collab with Minden Mills. They did a barley wine, a barrel-aged barley wine that was a collaboration with Minden Mills. And so it's called Run to the Mills.
Not a collaboration with Iron Maiden?
No, I did. The guys, we tried, but the guys were unavailable.
They're also very far away.
Yes, just a little.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of where we're really looking forward is to working with local breweries, working with local communities, and just trying to own this state. Because if we're growing Nevada grain, we're turning into Nevada bourbon, Nevada rye, Nevada single malts. You get this something that is so unique to us, and honestly, like I said, it's pushing the industry forward is folks like us and Frey.
I have to say, because I met you at we had a beer dinner.
Yes.
Where the chef at Las Vegas Brewing Company created all of these wonderful dishes and paired it with the barley wine that we just mentioned. And then the next night we did Corey's. We
did. There was an event at Corey's where I was pouring for everybody.
I have never seen a master distiller pour in a store before. Ever.
I think that says less about master distillers than it does about me. I mean, I would hope that we'd all jump in there. I think it's disingenuous for the role of master distiller to be anything but a representative of the wonderful team that you have. They're the ones that support me so I can be here today. Those are the ones that are distilling on days when I'm traveling. So I'm not going to be too highfalutin to get behind there and pour and explain not just what I do, but the efforts of the people that I represent.
Well, it was refreshing to see because typically if like one of my brands, which full disclosure, Minden Mills is not a brand that I represent.
No, we just met at the beer dinner.
Yeah, we just met at the beer dinner.
I had a wonderful mentor in this industry. He was a man named Steve McCarthy. And Steve, I started off in 2005. Maybe a little background on myself would give some context to this.
Right.
I started off distilling in 2005 at a place called Clear Creek Distillery in Portland, Oregon.
Ooh, I love Portland.
And Clear Creek was it's the first distillery in Portland, Oregon.
Oh.
It predates all the others. It predates Westward and all them. But yeah, the Steve started that in 1985, and then he first released American Single Malt in 1996. That was the first American Single Malt. And then he trained me starting in 2005 up until when I wound up leaving and moving to New York to work on some of those distilleries out there in the early 2010s. But Steve had a real workman's approach to it. I think that's why we got along. I'm from a pretty blue-collar family, and the idea is that you should always be the one. There should never be a task that you don't do. Right. And Steve had that approach. I mean, there was no marketing team. There was no sales team other than Lynn Bauer and a few other folks that work there. But it was mostly done by Steve and him taking me to liquor stores in New York and Boston and Seattle and Portland, and just showing me the connections that he made with folks taught me a role within this industry that I is so down to earth and so important to me that I don't know if I can ever break away from it. I'm always going to be the guy that's pouring behind the counter.
I love it. It was so refreshing to see that. And you're just engaging with the customers and just giving them a little lesson.
And until my voice wears out, typically.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So when you were in New York, so I've been to a couple of distilleries in New York. I did get to go to Widow Jane.
Oh man, they got a fun setup.
So good.
Such a fun setup.
And they weren't even open. They opened for us to show us around and give us a whole tasting. The head distiller there, like they were so kind and so welcoming.
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, the distilling community is one that is so appreciative of anybody that seems to get what we're doing, that seems to understand the science and the artistry that goes into being a distiller, and to really appreciate that it takes a lot. I mean, it seems like it's this ancient alchemy that should be easy, but it isn't. And it's over the course of my time as a distiller, I ran into Christian Krogstad, a few years ago in New Orleans, and we were discussing the difference between the good old days and the bad old days, and kind of how we feel about the industry now. And the one thing, while we disagreed, and I was saying how it's, there's some real opportunity that we have now, but we don't have the freedom that we used to have earlier. The one thing we really agreed on is that we all made terrible, terrible spirits back in the day, and that we've gotten much, much better.
Well, I'm glad. Practice makes perfect, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. And honestly, the stuff that I'm doing here at Minden is, I think, some of the most technological, but also most interesting, and certainly some of the best whiskeys I've ever made.
I could stand here and nerd out with you about whiskey all day.
I flew to Vegas just so we could. So ask away. We could just nerd out all day. But I love what you're doing up there, and I apologize that I had never tried your whiskeys before that dinner that night. I mean, we're brand new. We're barely a year old in terms of release. And so we started making whiskey and laying down whiskey, 4 and 5 years ago just for today. And that was, we made gins and we made vodkas and we made all these other products, a great coffee liqueur that everyone's really called Evil Bean. That's actually been really fun. I like making liqueurs. The reality, though, is the whiskey is the showcase of everything that Minden does, and you can taste a real, sense of place. Is the best way of saying it. I think our rye showcases that the most, and where a lot of ryes are black pepper in terms of flavor, and a lot of dill, ours has a huge amount of citrus and candied orange in it, which is. These are winter ryes. We farm 1,200 acres. If you are ever out in that area, if you're ever out in Carson City or Reno or Tahoe, and you drop into the Carson Valley, you'll see the Sierra Nevada to the west, and you'll see the rye fields. They're the actual ranch that we grow on to the east, and straight ahead will be the distillery between the two. And knowing that everything that's in that bottle remains in the Carson Valley to the moment of it's on a truck is just wild, because I get to drive in from work and see the snow and see the rye and understand that everything that I have, that everything I need to make whiskey is right in that scope of view. I don't think another distiller gets to do that. That's one of a kind.
Yeah. That would just put a big smile on my face every single day.
Oh, absolutely. It puts a smile on the face. And not only that, that's the sort of thing, I appreciate this. I appreciate what I get. So heck yeah, I'm going to pour behind a counter. I'm not, I didn't just luck into, I did just luck into this, but I'm not going to luck myself out of it by being a jerk.
So I love rye. I love all different ryes. I don't love every rye that I've ever had, but that's one thing that I did notice about yours is it wasn't a big pepper bomb.
No.
Is yours a straight rye?
It's 80% rye with 10% wheat and 10% barley. Okay. And the really cool thing about that is it does showcase this rye. We're using a AC Hazlitt or Serafino rye, very common kind of short stalk, meaning they're not growing, 4 feet, they're growing 3 feet so they don't fall over in the wind. And that's kind of the big selections that you have with rye. You're not getting a lot of flavor differences in the way that you would with corn. So the flavor that we're getting, this really nice citrus note, this is coming from the earth. This is coming from the grain. This is coming from the unique growing conditions that we have there. The whole Carson Valley is fed by the Carson River watershed. And it's a super, super cool ecological place. It's all fed by snowmelt, and then it extends from Minden out to Fallon. And that's where I bring up Frey for this, just because I like the idea that we share this one watershed where they're at one end and we're at the other. Okay. And what's really unique about it is that this one river doesn't end in a larger river. It doesn't go to the sea. It ends in a sink. It just ends in a wetland. So we've all heard all rivers lead to the ocean. It's just not entirely true. Most do, 99% do, but there's these rare ones that don't, that just exist in these little areas that you often feed into a desert. And it just makes the it just lends something to everything that's grown out there that's a little bit different than you would get otherwise, because this is a unique place.
I would never have thought to have looked for something like that, like any of the last times that I've ever been up there, which it's been a few years since I've been up to Reno.
Reno is still there. It's still fun. I love the biggest little city. Mm-hmm. It really is a fun spot. And I'm sorry for everybody here in Vegas, but our circus is better. That's just that's not the opinion of Foley Family Wines and Spirits. I'm just saying that's a personal opinion.
I agree. I lived in Reno when I was a kid before we lived here.
Oh, so we have the better circus?
Yes, that was my very first circus. Yeah. All
cities should be measured in terms of how great their circus is.
I think so. Yeah, 100%. And that was the first. That was my first MGM too. And they actually had a lion that lived behind glass that you could see, like a real live one. Yep, I remember that.
I'm glad as a society we've moved on from that moment.
Me too. But I mean, I just odd little quirky things like that in my childhood. Yeah. You won't ever forget it. Pure
Reno.
Yes. So what made you decide to get into this in the first place?
So how does one become a distiller?
Yes.
So I have a biology degree, and I had worked in academia for a while. It didn't suit me. I don't think I have the temperament to be a research biologist, which I did for a few years, and it just, again, wasn't for me. We all kind of know. Sometimes it's better to know when something doesn't work for you than knowing what you want. And I had spent some time as a carpenter after that, just realizing, well, I don't, maybe biology, I studied this and maybe I really like it, but I'll go into something that's a little bit more hands-on. I'd always been the kid who took things apart and built things anyway. Like I took apart VCRs when I was a kid.
Okay.
I was always that guy. That's my long story short. And, worked as a carpenter for a few years and then wound up just deciding that I was going to leave Massachusetts. I'm from Cape Cod originally. And wound up in Boise, Idaho for a bit. Me and this woman I was living with at the time, and it didn't work out for us, and it didn't work out in Boise, and we wound up moving. Before it didn't work out for us, we wound up moving to Portland, Oregon, back in 2004, and I needed work. And for a little while, I was just doing handyman stuff, whatever paid the bills. Rent was crazy cheap back then. I think it was like $300 a month. It was just so beautiful.
The good old days.
Oh, and then I wound up knocking on this. There was just this building that was down the road. I didn't really know what it was. It had these huge ornate iron gates. The building was all black. And I realized, well, I don't know what they do there. I'm going to go knock on the door. And I knocked on the door, and this white-haired giant came out, and that was Steve McCarthy. And he asked me what I wanted. He was a very direct, he was a very direct, often accused of being grumpy man. Yeah, he was a grumpy man, but he also was very dear to anyone that he was close to. So Steve answered it, and he said, "What do you want?" And then I said, "Well, I'm just looking for work." He said, "Well, give me your resume." And he said, "This is Clear Creek Distillery." And I said, "Okay." And for about 2 weeks, I just kind of fantasized about like, oh, this is kind of cool. I'll learn how to make rum. I'll learn how to make whiskey. I'll learn how to make all this stuff. And what did I learn how to make there? Fine fruit brandies, which at the time was not very cool to me. Right. And since then, I have learned that eau de vie is about as cool as you can get. So, that's called growing up. I wanted to make bourbon. I make bourbon now, but it was really amazing to learn how to make Par Williams, to learn how to make Calvados or the American equivalents of these. And I started to notice a trend. I was like, well, this is an opportunity. If wine had its moment in America and beer was really starting to climb with the craft beer movement, you were seeing breweries starting to open up across Portland. I was like, well, someday spirits will have that too. And just riding that wave as long as I did. I mean, I think the first 10 years were a little touch and go in terms of how financially rewarding it was, but it never was not exciting. And what's always kept me in the industry is the quality of the people that you get to meet and work with and hang out with like yourself. So I've stuck in it ever since then because I kind of like the people more than anything. I know. Every master distiller is going to be like, oh, if you cut me, whiskey will flow from my veins. Like, no, I'm here because I really, really enjoy. I really enjoy the act of distilling with others. I enjoy the act of tasting with others. I enjoy the problem solving, both mechanical and biological with others. Yeah. And I like being part of the teams that I get to be part of. And that's on a small scale. That's my team at Minden. And on a large scale, that's just the entire distilling industry is filled with wonderfully kind people.
That's amazing. That's good. I mean, it wasn't your childhood dream.
No, my childhood dream was to be like kind of like something that's like Indiana Jones, but also kind of like Weird Al Yankovic, something in between. That would have been my childhood dream.
Okay.
Adventurer, comedian, songwriter. That sounds like a really great way to spend your life.
Yeah, it sounds very fun.
Not a great way to pay the bills, I imagine.
No, probably not. But I mean, if you're having fun and you're doing what you love,
yep,
that's half the battle.
Well, second best was certainly being a whiskey distiller.
Yes. And then getting to the financial level that you desire, and then also doing what you love.
Yeah. No, I'm a very, very fortunate man. I've been able to use things that interest me, and I've been able to be mentored by the best. And more importantly, I've been able to hopefully mentor others to a point where it makes their careers a little bit nicer. Well,
you're the only person other than Manny that I've met. That's Manny, right?
Yeah, Manny.
Your salesperson.
Manny Cabral.
Yeah, so...
Big shout out to Manny. Manny's an awesome guy.
So you're the only person from the actual distillery that I've met. He does the sales part. So I haven't met any of the people that you might possibly be mentoring at this time, but I'm certain that they are very appreciative of what you can teach them.
I try as hard as I can. And honestly, they do as much teaching me. I mean, half the time there's aspects of the equipment. You would think that after so long, you would look at any still and be able to just like, I can operate it no matter what. Like you can in theory, but they all have these very, very particular little quirks about them, how they want to heat up. And it's nothing that seems to make sense on a SOP. You almost have to play it like an instrument, and knowing how to use these stills, it requires a dedication. And I've been, I love the days I get to operate equipment, and I'm envious of all the people who get to spend all day in the barrel room. But the great thing about being a master distiller is that you get a little bit of all of it. Mm-hmm. And so I do spend time in the barrel room. I do spend time with the blender. I do spend time with the distillers. And I spend time with the sales and marketing team too. And everyone at Minden and Foley is working really hard.
That's great. I can appreciate that because I did get to go to Las Vegas Brewing one day, and Jeff and Becca, the head brewer and assistant head brewer, taught me how to brew.
Oh, nice.
I had always wanted to learn. They're like, really? You want to learn that? And they were very excited that I wanted to learn that. Of course I want to learn that. So I went and brewed with them one day. It was great.
It's all about trying to convert starch into sugar and the right temperature rests and lautering and all those aspects that come in with brewing. I've always loved brewing. There's something I like all aspects of the alcohol industry. I've liked when I've gotten the opportunity to work with wineries. I've liked the opportunity when I've gotten to work with breweries. And that's the great thing about being a distiller. In order to make whiskey, you got to make beer. In order to make brandy, you got to make wine. Mind you, I don't make good beer and I don't make good wine, but I don't need to, because you can make good whiskey out of decent wine, or decent beer and decent brandy or good brandy out of decent wine.
Yes, you can. I'm so thrilled that you took your time out of your day today just to come here and do this with us.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you want to talk about?
You haven't necessarily tried our single malt, but I'd love to take a second and pour you a little bit.
I wouldn't be mad about that.
All right.
It hurts really bad when you twist my arm like that.
Oh, I know. Because then I can spend some time talking about American Single Malt, which is the coolest.
So if our listeners don't, I feel like if they are thinking about a single malt, they're thinking about Scotch.
They are. Yeah. So American Single Malt, it's its own unique thing in some ways. And it came very organically out of the distilling community. I'd mentioned that Steve McCarthy, he was the first to release an American Single Malt. It's very well documented, but, there really wasn't a definition until just a couple of years ago, when after an 8-year struggle, the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission got their laws. And I say they, I mean, I'm a member, but a group of 100 small distillers got together as the American Single Malt Whiskey Commission. And the goal was to create a definition of American single malt that would maintain the quality and the integrity of that spirit on a global stage. So if you think of what Scotch is, that's single malt. If you think of what Japanese single malt is, obviously single malt, and the same down the line for India and Australia as well. With American single malt, we really wanted to make sure that the definition and the rules were twofold. First and foremost, that it was in line with international regulations as much as possible. And in that fact, it is. And I think we even did one better with American single malt, where it has to be 100% malted barley, distilled in one distillery. That's a basic rule. There's some, there's some cask sizing and some age statement regulations. You don't need an age statement. And the goal of that was America's really big. And it would, a single malt matured in Waco, Texas is going to mature way faster than one that's matured in Booth Bay, Maine. And that way, if we put in 3 year, it has to be a minimum of 3 years. I mean, anything that's coming out of the hot, dry conditions is not going to be particularly great unless they have climate control. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to keep that open for anybody to join in, because that also pushes for the sense of terroir, or at least regional cultural influence, I should say, rather than terroir, on the whiskey itself. And those 100 small distillers, yeah, we got our way. The only concession we got that I think we didn't want to have any caramel coloring allowed. It is allowed, but you got to disclose it on the bottle, and you will never see it on any of mine. Oh. You don't have to drink that whole thing.
I'm going to.
Oh, good.
But
so then the other aspect of it is that it protects it. It makes it something that's the same as the rest of the world. And it also differentiates it from bourbon and rye in the terms that with an American single malt, you can use a used barrel. And I'm a big fan of second and third fill barrels. I think you get some of the better flavor expressions out of them. This also is really important for smaller distilleries, because it's expensive to make bourbon and rye. It costs a lot to buy new barrels every time. And if you're trying to figure out how to get this going and you want to make a whiskey, American single malt is going to be your best bet. You can get used barrels just like they do in Scotland. You can do a big, huge combination of different barrels. Ours is a combination of Oloroso, used bourbon, new American oak, and recharred wine to get Minden Mill. And then the other aspect of it that we really wanted to do is we wanted to make that low bar of entry really, really accessible for everybody. And then more importantly is you can partner up with a local brewery and still get considered American single malt. You don't have to mash it on site. And that saves distillers a lot of money, where they could be putting it into growing their business instead of investing in equipment that, they're not going to see real returns on for about several years. Mm-hmm. It was, quite honestly, I think one of the prouder things I've been a part of. Steve, it was the head of all this. You can't talk about any of this without saying thank you to Steve Hawley from Westland. I mean, he is the god of American single malt at this point. He would hate it if I said that. I'll text him later on.
Just be aware.
Yeah. There's a funny text thread that's like me, Steve Hawley, Owen from Angel's Envy, and Murphy from Cedar Ridge, and we tend to give each other a lot of hell on that if we can.
That sounds like an amazing group chat.
Well, let's move on to the American single malt, because cheers. What I love about ours, very cool. Try it first. You're going to get a lot of fruitiness, a lot of high ester. Wow. It's so fruity. It's so rich. It's so decadent, but in a way that doesn't come across too much. And one of the ways we do this is we are a very traditional distillery, but that's very technologically advanced. Single malt is traditionally made with direct fire. Mm-hmm. And so you have a huge flame underneath the pot, and that's going to cook it all. And those higher temperatures are above what's known as the Maillard reaction, which is the esters and the aminos that are developed when carbon chains are hit by intense heat, low steam distillation never reaches these temperatures. So while I love low pressure steam and it's very safe, direct fire offers something that doesn't, but it's also very dangerous because you're essentially making a flammable gas, and then you have this flame, and if there's a leak, you can get a bomb. With our system, we, instead of cycling low pressure steam around an internal jacket that then heats the pot of the distilling whiskey wash itself, we're circulating around that a food grade thermal oil. It's just mineral oil, the same stuff that you would use to cure butcher block. No different. So you say oil, sometimes people think it's crude oil. It's not. It's just a plant derived thing. And so that travels in a jacket that surrounds the pot. And we can do that at temperatures of approaching 200 degrees Celsius, far closer to actual direct fire. And in that, you get this ester development. So even in the new make whiskey, you're getting a much sweeter, much more fruity approach to any of our flavors. Well,
I definitely got all of that from that little sip that I had. And it's very smooth.
Smooth is a big part of what we do. The truth of the matter is a lot of that comes from the quality of the barrel, in my opinion. It's good blending and it's good distilling for sure, but a really nice barrel can eat up a lot of harsh elements to your whiskey. And we're using 36-month air-dried stave barrels from Siggy Moreau in Napa. And using some of these wine cooperages, I always feel like I get a better quality barrel for the buck. And Nancy Fraley from Still Austin. Nancy Fraley. She was there for a little bit, I believe, but before that, I was talking to her one time, and we had a big discussion about how distillers are using not always the best quality barrels, and we think the industry would be a lot better off in terms of flavor and what can be offered if we did so. And I took that to heart, and I've tried to work with the best quality barrels ever since, and I've seen a tremendous uptick in the quality of products I work with.
I'm kind of at a loss for words. I'm glad. Thank you for bringing this, and thank you for introducing me to this. I'm sorry that I didn't get to try that.
It was the one you hadn't tried. So
it was the one I hadn't tried, and wow.
Yeah, we've been thrilled to be able to present these things. We malt our own barley, we grow our own barley, and this is just a product of that region. It's just a product of the Carson Valley.
What is the proof on this?
94.
Okay, it's smooth. It's smooth like an 80 proof.
Nice,
in my opinion.
That's what I want to hear.
So a 94 proof, that's significantly higher. But wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed 94.
One of the questions I get all the time is why'd you choose 94? And I wish there was something smarter that I could say about it, but it was really a panic decision. We had to order labels, on like, we had to order labels. And the day before I noticed whiskey that was proof to be 92 proof, which shouldn't have flocculant. That's the little esters will find themselves in solution like dust bunnies, and they'll become visible.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have that 92, but ours seemed to. So I immediately panicked. I was like, well, we're going to bottle at 94 then. And that's how we ordered the labels. And it's been that way since.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't see anything in there.
No, it's chemically impossible at this point.
Good. Yeah. I'm blown away.
I'm glad.
Not that I'm surprised that I'm blown away, because I'm definitely not surprised. I've tried your other marks and they do not disappoint at all.
Oh, I love that.
I love it too. I mean, just so good. I hope that this distillery is wildly successful in the future, and that, our listeners come and they go and check it out. They go and try to find it.
Yeah, I would appreciate anybody who's interested in what we do to go to mindenmill.com. We also have a store locator on there. Support your local liquor stores. And if you can, support your local independent liquor stores first and foremost.
Yeah.
Listen, I love nothing but love to my friends at Binny's, Lee's, and Total Wine. But, I'm always going to look out for the mom and pop on the corner. So,
oh, yeah.
And then also, if you can't support your local liquor store in one fashion or another, check to see if we can ship it to you. There's a number of states that we can mail to. And that's going to be all located on mindenmill.com.
I love it. You guys are on it. You know where you're available at. I mean, there's some good mom and pops here.
Oh, yeah.
and more that are opening that I'm going and making new friends with. So
the transformation of Vegas over the last 5 years and everything that's happening in the arts district in particular is so cool that, I'm not a gambler. I'm not a sports guy. Like I want to look at the sphere from the outside, not the inside, but the actual kind of vibe that I'm getting when I go down to the arts district here is exciting in a way that I just don't think people realize about this city. There's this amazingly, completely overlooked vein of just good food, good cocktails, and just exciting culture that's moving through Vegas. I'm always telling people to head out that way when they come to visit.
I love it down there. They do not have a little liquor store down there.
They don't have a bottle shop.
They don't have a bottle shop, really. I found a brand new, and they're having their grand opening next week. It's called the Liquor Loft.
Awesome.
And it's off of the US 95 and Russell Road. And Kumar is the owner there, and he is so sweet. Just a very sweet guy, very informative, and a beautiful space. Like
nice.
He has built a beautiful space with a built-in tasting bar. Solomon at Liquor Lineups, Liquor Lineup 2 and 3 both have built-in beautiful tasting bars there. And their staff is very knowledgeable. So we need to get you in there and make you some friends, because those guys would love to meet you.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, because we're always trying to figure out the right locations for us. We want Nevada to feel the love that we put in our bottles, because borders and states and everything, this is part of what we have here in this state. And I've been very fortunate to live in 7 U.S. states, usually regarding work. So I have this wonderful experience of being a traveling distiller that's gotten to see much of the country. And I never pictured myself living here, but now that I've been here, I'm so glad that I've spent time and gotten to know Nevada as well as I do.
Joe, thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me on. Thanks for asking me questions about what I do. If anyone's out there, I want you to support small, independent distilleries doing cool things.
Yes.
Start with the one in your own backyard, and then after that, move on to Minden.
Thanks for stopping by. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm Tracy Bradley, and that's the Thirst Trap Podcast. Produced and edited by Gonzo Greg Spillane for Noise Department. Our theme music is composed and performed by Jose Torres. Please like and subscribe wherever you enjoy your podcasts, and share with your friends and associates in the beverage industry or anybody who drinks things. You can always visit and contact me at thirsttrappodcast.com, and you can find links to all the socials there as well. Till next time, cheers!